Okay. Are we live? Yeah, we're live now. Excellent. As per usual, we're gonna give people a few minutes to filter in. We're gonna start the stream at 6. And it's 5:55 here right now. We didn't quite have enough time to cover Tournament Pack 1 last time, so instead we're going to cover it this time. And hopefully we'll have time for not only this, but also Spell Ruler, the rebrand of Magic Ruler. So that's the plan for tonight. I do want to say something as far as the series. This has really changed how I've been thinking about normal monsters, and I think in the near future I'm just going to have to make a video that's the evolution of normal monsters and how they were introduced into the TCG, because I really think I was way too hard making comparisons of cards that were much newer to the original set of normal monsters which were released. I think there is some design problem as far as introduction, like Summon Skull introduced way too early, and it effectively killed a lot of its competition, but it's been on my mind because I'm going to pull up the graph again. The normal monsters per set. Right here we're in Spell Ruler, then we're going to do Pharaoh's Servant, and then Labyrinth of Nightmare. And actually, after Labyrinth of Nightmare, we might retire the normal tier, or the tier specifically for normal monsters. I'm thinking that's because the early sets are, I wouldn't say dominated, but really heavy in the normal monsters. I mean, we're looking at 50%, 33%, like 20 to 25%. And then around Legacy of Darkness onward, they shrink dramatically. But what also is interesting to me is at some point in these later sets, it's like they tried to make each normal monster that they introduced useful for some reason. Hey, Junk Synchron. First to the stream. Okay, I'm praying for no complications too. The problem with live shows is the real world. But have time set out. Hopefully I'm not going to run late. Got about 3.5 hours available for the stream, and the plan is to go over the Tournament Pack 1 cards and then into the Spell Ruler cards. So, fun stuff. Stream starts in 2 minutes, just to give everyone time, because ideally I'd like to start at the same time every week and make this a regularly scheduled event, hopefully 6 p.m. EST, but it's been a little bit difficult at the moment. I'm looking forward to having more structure and more time, and eventually I'm also going to see if I can get some Saturdays available. So it'd be 10 a.m. EST, because that hits most of the geographic regions that my audience are in. But that's down in the future. I don't know what would be doing in those slots. Might be cool to talk about like the different structure decks and how they evolved over time, or something like that. If your only cards were structure decks, would you be able to win? Probably not. Are we going to get more quirky videos like the Loneliest Monster, since that brought a lot of people here? I watched all your stuff because of that vid. Thank you, Junk Synchron. I'd love to replicate the success, but I don't have I don't have a plan. I'm just gonna make videos that I enjoy making for the most part, and hopefully people enjoy watching them. You never know when YouTube is just going to make a video popular. More than anything, it's not up to me, it's just stars aligning and then something goes right and then it gets a whole bunch more exposure than it normally does. I really like your cards to consider format. Keep it up. Thank you, KGB Aotox? Aotox? KGB Aotox. But 6 o'clock. Time to start. Okay, Tournament Pack 1. First card, Mechanical Chaser. And this card is a chase card, pun intended. Like, meta warping. Very strong. I have no idea how you actually acquired tournament packs in the day. So I know that this card was hard to acquire, and let's get right into reviewing it. So, Mechanical Chaser, Dark Attribute, level 4, Machine, Normal Monster, a hunter that relentlessly pursues its target by order of the Machine King, 1850, 800. This is the strongest monster in the game. It's level 4, and it's just that 50 points of attack makes it the strongest monster in the game. A lot of people said the same thing about Masterpiece when Masterpiece was really big, that just 50 points can put a monster all the way over the edge. Really interesting. Next card up is Actuator, and I just want to point out something about the artwork. It might just be me, but I see the Batman who laughs in this card's visual design. I might be the only one, and that's okay. But you gotta admit, there's some similarity. Same thing with Newdoria, but Newdoria is a much newer card. Anyway, I'm not accusing anyone. What does Actuator do? Actuator is an Earth Attribute, level 4, Warrior, Normal Monster, an axe-wielding monster of tremendous strength and agility. 1700 attack, 1150 defense. Ooh. Got a comment from Night Flash saying that it was viable in Duel Links. I don't know if Duel Links should count. Mostly I'm going for TCG performance to the best of my abilities and knowledge. At some point, we might look at Duel Links differently because they had a completely separate card pool. And the nature of the series is looking through the progression of the TCG over time. Next up, Kwargar. Kwargar Hercules. Earth Attribute, level 6, Fusion Monster, Insect. Materials are Kuwagata Alpha and Hercules Beetle. 1900 attack, 1700 defense. I'm going to put it in the gimmick tier. He was released after the 1800 monsters, so I think that Actuator is filler. I agree. Kwargar Hercules is the only insect fusion you can use with for ready fusion, so it sees meta play in Bee Trooper. Wow. Is that enough to take it out of gimmick, though? I guess we'll put it in worth considering today, then. Or maybe gimmick. I don't know. It's really hard. Gimmick is untiered for a reason, where things are usually weird or have strange interactions or super specific niche in the gimmick. Plus, it's purple. Next up, Patrol Robo. Earth Attribute, level 3, Machine, Effect Monster. During your standby phase, you can look at one face-down card that has been set by your opponent. as long as this card remains face up on the field. 1100 attack, 900 defense. I feel like this effect is so underwhelming. It's not bad on a level 3, but you're never going to use this card. And I think like Man with Woodjat was better. Of course, Man with Woodjat has not been introduced yet, but still. Next up, White Hole. Normal trap card. When your opponent activates Dark Hole, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by that Dark Hole's effect. That's such awkward wording. This card is one of those super specific counters, and I think they're all going to fit into the very bad tier, even when they do something impressive like Jar Robber. It's never going to happen where your opponent's going to have the Dark Hole and then you're going to have White Hole face down. I just don't see it. Bad Fella, awesome. Caught one of these streams early on. Love your vids and streams, dude. Thank you. I'm glad to have you here. Next up, Elf's Light. Equip spell. A light monster equipped with this card increases its attack by 400 points and decreases its defense by 200 points. I have no idea why this has a downside. And this is another, I think it's a full attribute cycle that's actually featured in the tournament pack, which I think is a little neat. But none of them are particularly good. But we're going over all of them for completeness. Steel Shell, another equip spell. A water monster equipped with this card increases its attack by 400 points and decreases its defense by 200 points, which is really weird with Steel Shell because you think that it would increase your defense. Bit of a flavor fail. Next up, Blue Medicine. Normal spell, increase your life by 400 points. So, Dian Keto Cure Master is so much better than this card. It's 2.5 times as good, and Dian Keto Cure Master is still really bad. I think it's just funny that they released Blue Medicine and Red Medicine. Sort of messes with the progression to release them out of order, though. Never play this card. This is followed by Ryme. Normal spell, decrease your opponent's life points by 300. I'm not sure if Ryme is a burn card because it says decrease, which is very awkward wording. But it's technically better than Sparks, but not better than Hinotama or Final Flame or Meteor of Destruction or any of the ones that will come later. Next up, Burning Spear. Equip spell. A fire monster equipped with this card increases its attack by 400 points and decreases its defense by 200 points. Put it next to Steel Shell. This is followed by the Wind one. Gust Fan. Equip spell. A wind monster equipped with this card increases its attack by 400 points and decreases its defense by 200 points. If you haven't noticed, I don't like this way of introducing full attribute cycles. I think it's really bad, lazy design. This is followed by Tiger Axe. Earth attribute, level 4, Beast Warrior, a fast and powerful axe-wielding Beast Warrior. It's a little bit interesting. We'll get back to that in a second. 1300 attack, 1100 defense. So it says Beast Warrior. Do you think they're breaking the fourth wall? I didn't realize this at the time, but the Summoned Skull references itself as a Fiend-type monster, which is sort of breaking the fourth wall. Anyway, Tiger Axe is a pretty run-of-the-mill normal monster at this point, though. Next up is Goddess with the Third Eye. Light attribute, level 4, Fairy, effect monster. This card may be a substitute for any one fusion material mentioned by name on the fusion monster card, but the other materials must be correct. 1200 attack, 1000 defense. I don't know if you'd ever use this card or any of the other fusion substitutes until we get to King of the Swamp. I actually think that King of the Swamp is completely playable because it's a debris dragon target, so you could discard it by its own effect, get polymerization, then normal summon debris dragon and make Black Rose. But Goddess with the third eye, I don't see any use for. Next up, Beast King of the Swamps. Earth attribute, level 4. You can substitute this card for any one fusion material monster. When you do this, the other fusion material monsters must be the correct ones. 1000 attack, 1100 defense. Put it next to the Goddess. But who doesn't go next to the Goddess? I actually think that Versago is better than the other two. It's Dark Attribute, level 3, Fiend effect. And if you've caught it, it's a tour guide target. So you could potentially fusion summon with it, of course. You can substitute this card for any one fusion material monster. When you do this, the other fusion material monsters must be the correct ones. 1100 attack, 900 defense. I'm gonna put it in gimmick tier. I have actually summoned this guy off a tour guide. It wasn't in like a Fiend deck, it was in a hero deck. This was not good, this was not meta, but it was fun. Next up is Watt Kid. This card's gotten a name-changing errata. It used to be Ocillo Hero number 2, I think is the name. So it used to be part of the Hero Super archetype, but not really. It's a light attribute, level 3, Thunder Monster. A creature that electrocutes opponents with bolts of lightning. 1000 attack, 500 defense. Unfortunately, joins Tiger Axe in the normal tier. So, he does have the Watt support. That is exactly where I was thinking about it. But he can't attack directly like the other Watts. But I guess if you wanted to run Unexpected Die in your Watt deck, you could run Watt Kid. I think he's a member of the Watts now. It'd be really dumb if this card had a second name-changing errata, though. Bean Soldier has a top in 2020. Night Flash, could you please elaborate on that? Is it a joke? Next up, Giant Flea. Earth attribute, level 4, Insect. A massive flea that feeds on the blood of its enemies. 1500 attack, 1200 defense. If this card were an LOB, it'd be good on release, but it's outclassed right now. Next up, Bean Soldier. Earth attribute, level 4, Plant. A plant warrior that attacks with seeds and sword. 1400 attack, 1300 defense. I'm not sure where we're gonna put it. Night Flash says that there's a top in 2020, so we'll put it in meta just for now until we get an explanation. Because it could have just been a meme card. Next up, the Statue of Easter Island. Earth attribute, level 4, Rock. A stone monument from Easter Island that launches laser blasts from its rock-hewn lips. 1100 attack, 1400 defense. There's a retrain of this card. It's an effect monster. It's Mohai Interceptor Cannon, and it's pretty cool. But this one's just a normal monster. Next up, really cool OCG artwork with Corroding Shark. It's a dark attribute level 3 zombie. A zombie shark that can deliver a lethal curse with a spell. It's lethal curse with a spell. 1100 attack, 700 defense. Put it in normal tier. I like how it's a zombie though. And the OCG artwork has a little bit of blood that got censored in the TCG. Spicy. Next up is Wow Warrior. Water attribute, level 4, fish. A fish with arms, legs, and some very sharp teeth. 1250 attack, 900 defense. So, this is a card that's Japanese name has a pun. It's like Gyo and Gyo Warrior. So it's like surprised, but in Japanese it's closer to Fish Warrior. Lost that pun in regionalization. It's enough to make you go wow, though. Bean Soldier was a meme card. You can drop it to normal. The deck list is all pot cards and bean monsters. Unsure how it got in the top 16. I guess people were just laughing. Too busy too busy laughing. Can't focus on the game. Wow Warrior is not even an exclamation of excitement. It's just his dedication to World of Warcraft. Next up, Winged Dragon Guardian of the Fortress number 2. Wind attribute, level 4, Winged Beast. Not a dragon. This monster's wings are capable of generating tornadoes. 1200 attack, 1000 defense. I like how there's a second one. I think Fiend Reflection number 2 doesn't have a TCG Fiend Reflection number 1, so I'm glad Winged Dragon Guardian of the Fortress number 1 has a friend. Next up, Ocillo Hero. A strange warrior from another dimension. It's an Earth attribute, level 3 warrior, 1250 attack, 700 defense. I'm not sure if this card is part of the hero archetype. I don't know if it got a name-changing errata. What's show notes say? Show notes say it's still Ocillo Hero. So, run unexpected die in your hero deck, except you already got all the good normal heroes that you could be running. I never understood the number 1 and number 2 naming convention, coming from Ryme. Oh, it's really cool. Like, if you look at the Forbidden Memories cards, there are so many of them that have a friend. Like, Creepy Ghost in the Attic and Karibo are partner cards. You have Winged Dragon Guardian of the Fortress number 1 and 2, of course. You have, like, The Wandering Dead and Skull Servant. Those are 2 more friends. You have, like, Wood Clown and the other clown card. Those guys are friends. It's just really cool design that a lot of these cards had pairs. Ah, yes. The hero archetype, it's capitalized, so it didn't need the errata. Very good point. I don't know if that counted, like, back then. So, in your 2007 deck, you could potentially run it. Well, I do not know about old rulings. I'm still wondering, in GOAT format, are you allowed to use Archfiend's Roar on your summon skull? But he's still not good, even if he were a hero. Shining Friendship, light attribute, level 4, fairy, a peacemaker among monsters. 1300 attack, 1100 defense. This card's not good. This goes in normal tier. I've actually played it in my Chaos deck, in my actual Chaos deck from 2005, because I thought it was cute. I also had Shining Abyss to replace it later, but I needed light fairy monsters for some reason. The Power of Friendship fights back, coming from Team Over the Top. I don't think this is quite the card that represents the power of friendship. We'll get to United We Stand, and yeah, that is showing that the power of friendship conquers all. Next up, Hercules Beetle. Earth attribute, level 5, insect. A massive beetle with a tough carapace and a dangerous horn. 1500 attack, 2000 defense. I think we're gonna put it in very bad because it's level 5, unfortunately. Okay, I think there are a few topping Herald decks that used advanced ritual art with Shining Friendship. I don't know if that should count, because is there a particular reason, like with Killer Needle, that you'd want Shining Friendship over things like Shining Abyss or Duname's Dark Witch or a whole bunch of other fairies that would be better? You know, fairies that could at least do something when you draw them. I know Nova Summoner or Shining Angel can get out Shining Friendship over Duname's Dark Witch or Shining Abyss, but... Or maybe it was the other one that looks like Shining Friendship. I don't know. I think you're thinking Happy Lover. We'll put it in Gimmick for luck. I think Happy Lover's level 2, which might be better for the ARA. Next up, the Judgment Hand. Earth attribute, level 3, Warrior. I guess it's the hand of the warrior. An all-powerful hand that delivers ruthless attacks. 1400 attack, 700 defense. It's just a guy's hand. I don't get it. Also, this is one of the weird cards because I think Judgment of Anubis spells judgment without the E, but this card spells it with the E. Petite Angel. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Petite Angel was seeing play over Shining Friendship, which just sounds like a ridiculous debate. Next up, Woden, the Resident of the Forest. Earth attribute, level 3, Warrior, for some reason. Effect monster. Increase this card's attack by 100 points for every plant-type monster that is face-up on the field. 900 attack, 1200 defense. So it never gives a defense gain, so the maximum you can get, like, you can have 6 and your opponent can have 6, assuming that there's DNA surgery on the field, which puts it at 2100 attack, but at the time that it was released, it would be a 1900 attack level 3 monster? That's just, no. We have Muka Muka. Muka Muka is pretty good. This card's just so bad. The absolute ceiling for this card is almost okay. Next up, another cool artwork. Cyber Soldier of the Dark World. Dark attribute, level 4, Machine. A mechanical soldier that won't stop attacking until all life readings have been extinguished from its sensors. 1400 attack, 1200 defense. Goes into normal tier. Unfortunate. Next up, Cockroach Knight. Earth attribute, level 3, insect effect monster. When this card is sent to the graveyard, it is returned to the top of the deck. 800 attack, 900 defense. I think it goes into Gimmick tier. And there's a few different ways that you can use it, like an anti-deck out card. Dark World support. Maybe Zur is better. Dark World support? Is Cyber Soldier of the Dark World a Dark World monster? Oh. I don't know if it's part of the Dark World archetype. Yeah, Zur is definitely better. You wouldn't be running the Cyber Soldier. I think this might be like with Dark World Thorns, where it's not a Dark World monster because of the Japanese name. Be a pretty weird card to receive in Erratum, though. Anyway, back to Cockroach Knight. I like how it's got the, what is it, Eradicating Aerosol shield. It's a pretty cool card. Stop you from decking out. Potentially useful in something. I mean, we've seen Sword of the Deep-Seated, which is definitely useful for that purpose. There's also Mechadog Maron, which you'd put in your Lightsworn decks to keep yourself from decking out, and it had a little bit of synergy because it was a light attribute. Maybe there's a use for Cockroach Knight at some point, so we're just gonna put him comfortably in gimmick tier for now. And final card for the tournament pack is Kuwagata Alpha. And this card's bad. I don't want to go all the way to saying that it's a design mistake, but that alpha in the card name makes it really hard to index as far as putting it into different characters, because a whole bunch of like website URLs don't like the character alpha. So definitely a design oversight because they weren't thinking about computer and data entry. But I don't think the card is broken. Insect, a very vicious stag beetle that goes for the head. 1250 attack, 1000 defense. Ooh, slightly better than Killer Needle means that it's got no function. So, I think that's the first tournament pack. All in all, there's like one decent card, a couple gimmick cards that might be useful at some point, and like some of the worst cards in the game with White Hole, Blue Medicine, Ryme, and Woden, Resident of the Forest. Well, I guess the Hercules Beetle can be at the top of very bad, which makes it less bad. Adam, hello. That name sounds familiar. Okay. We're going to take a brief break to get to the next. Okay. While I set up the next one, which is going to be Spell Ruler. Which I actually got the art for Magic Ruler up. It's the same thing. They had a name change, at least in the TCG, because there was a lawsuit, or maybe not a lawsuit, but a legal complication with Wizards of the Coast, who were selling Magic the Gathering, and there were a little bit of difficulty when you call them Magic cards, so they got renamed to Spell cards, and then Magic Ruler got renamed to Spell Ruler. I spelled it correctly. What did I misspell last time? The equips are better than the robot, probably. I can see that. I don't know. The equips are pretty bad, like waste of a card. I spelled the name correctly. Okay, queuing up Spell Ruler. I think this is the first time I've done it live. Okay. Okay, I think we have it now. Give stream a second to catch up. And we're on to Spell Ruler. So, secret rare for this set is Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. Light attribute, level 8, Dragon Toon effect monster. Cannot be normal summoned / set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by tributing 2 monsters while you control Toon World. Cannot attack the turn it is special summoned. You must pay 500 life points to declare an attack with this monster. If Toon World on the field is destroyed, destroy this card. Can attack your opponent directly unless they control a Toon monster, in which case this card must target a Toon monster for its attacks. 3000 attack, 2500 defense. Toon monsters have a lot of text. So I don't I don't know how controversial this is going to be, but I actually think that tunes had a slim potential for actually being pretty good in the game, in the classic game like GOAT format, because they special summon themselves from hand. So if you can get out like Scapegoat, then you can start getting the ball rolling and get some tune monsters, and then they're actually decent in terms of attack points. Just special summoning out 2 like high level tunes off of a Scapegoat would be pretty good. But you need Tune Table of Contents before you can get there. Soul Exchange is also really good with tunes. I completely agree with that, especially Tune Summon Skull, which only takes the 1 tribute. I do think narrow window where tunes could have been meta if things had unfolded just a little bit differently. But right now, relying on just Toon World without Tune Table of Contents is just not consistent. Next up, Penguin Knight. Newt. Water attribute, level 3, aqua effect. When this card is sent directly from the deck to the graveyard by an effect of a card controlled by your opponent, unite your graveyard cards and your own deck, shuffle them, and form a new deck. 900 attack, 800 defense. Some of the most awkward text. I don't know if it's a gimmick for Penguin Knight. The idea behind the card is like, if your opponent is trying to deck you out with cards like Needleworm, then you use Penguin Knight and it prevents them from decking you out. Cockroach Knight got power crept. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think Cockroach Knight is still more useful. I always put this card in my deck just hoping for it to hit. There's a much better card than Penguin Knight. I think you're better off running Cockroach Knight most of the time. The whole thing with Penguin Knight, though, is it's not really an advantage to shuffle your graveyard into your deck, because you want things in your graveyard for graveyard setup. You still have Monster Reborn at this point, and there's some other cards that like having cards in the graveyard. So I don't see Penguin Knight being useful even for its intended purpose. Next up, Axe of Despair. And check out the OCG artwork on this card. I mean, it's a little bit better. It's a lot of bit better. I like it. Anyway, this is an equip spell. This card is always treated as an Archfiend card. Because it has demon in its Japanese name. I'm not sure if that ever comes up as being useful. I think for falling down, it requires an Archfiend monster. The equipped monster gains 1000 attack, and then the effect that no one seems to remember. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you contribute 1 monster. Place this card on the top of your deck. So it's a win effect, so I guess this card can miss the timing, but I've never once heard or seen someone use this effect for Axe of Despair. As far as rating, I'd say it's good on release. It's the best equip card we have in the game. It's better than Stimpack. Oh no, Stimpack. Benkei OTK used this card, I think. Ooh. Benkei OTK. I'm not sure if Axe of Despair is specifically necessary for that deck, but I guess we can put it in meta at one point. We'll probably put it at the bottom at meta, though, because you want to use Mage Power, United We Stand. This is probably like your 3rd or 4th choice. It's your 3rd string. Next up, Black Pendant. Equip spell. The equipped monster gains 500 attack. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, very specific, inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. So this card is one of the ones that you can actually put in a gimmick deck. Like Reversal Quiz will wipe your board, so if you have Fuma Shuriken or Black Pendant set and you swap life points with your opponent, this can be enough to deal the final bit of damage, and you can win with a super gimmick like that. Lot of gimmick cards in this one. Unpopular opinion, Horn of Light is better because it doesn't require a tribute. As in this Horn of Light, the equip spell, increase the defense of a monster equipped with this card by 800 points. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, if you pay 500 life points, this card returns to the top of your deck. I have no clue why it's not more. It should be like 1200 defense points. There's another card that you can compare to Axe of Despair. It's actually coming up right next, but I think the better card to compare it to is Malevolent Nuzzler, another equip spell. The equip monster gains 700 attack. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can pay 500 life points, place this card on the top of your deck. See, this time it actually gives you a little bit better because it's 700 attack versus the 800 defense, so the defensive boost is a little bit stronger. But Malevolent Nuzzler still isn't a good card. Black Pendant was used in one of the most scummy decks in GOAT format. Oh, I agree. Black Pendant is a gimmick card, and I don't think it's is gimmick higher than meta at one point? I don't know. Oh, M. Adam, you thought the Horn of Light increases attack. No trouble. That's no trouble. If it were 800 points of attack, I think Horn of the Unicorn boosts attack, I think. I don't know when Horn of the Unicorn is introduced. Not this set, I don't think. But very similar. Next up, Spellbinding Circle. And actually, I want to show off Spellbinding Circle's OCG art a little bit and have some context. So, if you look at the OCG artwork, you might think, oh, why does this card have a Star of David in its artwork? And I don't think that's actually what it's depicting. I did some research, and it looks more like the Seal of Solomon, as in the King Solomon and the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Grimoire on Demonology. And one of the things, I'm going to pull up a couple images. Like, here you go. This is from a 13th century manuscript detailing the Seal of Solomon. But there's an even better one. This one in particular just looks really familiar to me. We'll bring up the OCG artwork too. Okay. To me, this is dead on. Like, this is pretty much where they got the inspiration for the OCG artwork, as in it's definitely a reference to the Seal of Solomon, but I understand why they changed it in regionalization, because this does look like a Star of David. So I understand for representation with Judaism or the flag of Israel why they would change it. But I think this is something that we missed out in the TCG, a little bit of cool symbolism. That being said, this isn't judging artwork or symbolism or anything of the like. We're rating cards today, so. How good is this card? It's a good question. What does Spellbinding Circle do? Continuous Trap. Activate this card by targeting one monster your opponent controls. It cannot attack or change its battle position. When that monster is destroyed, destroy this card. It's soft removal, and there's an argument to be made that soft removal isn't that bad. That it's okay using up one of your continuous traps to deal with a very important monster. I just don't see it being good enough. There's a lot better cards in the game because you could use Trap Hole or Fisser and achieve more. There are some soft removals that did see play. Much later in the game, we're going to see Nightmare Wheel, and then much later in the game, we're going to see Fiendish Chain. And Fiendish Chain negated the effect, so it was actually real strong. Not so much anymore, because you can usually link away with it or overlay. But back in the day, Fiendish Chain was pretty good. Next up, Metalfish. Water attribute, level 5, machine. A metalfish with razor sharp a metalfish with a razor sharp caudal fin. So the caudal fin is the one on top. 1600 attack, 1900 defense. It's bad. It's real bad. So many of these ineffectual high-level normal monsters in the early sets. Next up, Electric Snake. It's a light attribute, level 3, thunder effect monster. Ooh. I wonder if you can use Thunder Seahorse to get this guy. That typing might actually be relevant. When this card is discarded from your hand to the graveyard by an effect of a card controlled by your opponent, draw 2 cards from your deck. 800 attack, 900 defense, and this card's actually real good. This card has seen meta play. It's that good. Because it was a side deck card, and when your opponent would be using like Dark Worlds or just degenerate discard cards like Delinquent Duo Confiscation, then you could get your Electric Snake into the graveyard, and drawing 2 cards is a huge plus. I'm not sure if this card is better than Gemini Imps, which would later be printed, but pretty cool. Arc V2 says something Legendary Ocean. I guess you could technically normal summon Metalfish under a Legendary Ocean when it comes out, but I'm pretty sure when a Legendary Ocean comes out, we have Gagigo, and Gagigo is 2450 attack. Underneath Legendary Ocean, you can normal summon it. It goes up to 2650 attack, and then you can attack over Summon Skull, which is at least something. So, Metalfish still pretty bad. Next up, Queen Bird. Wind attribute, level 5, Winged Beast. This monster attacks enemies using its huge beak. 1200 attack, 2000 defense. I guess you could bring it out with Flying Kamakiri #1, which is down here. So in this set, we can mention Flying Kamakiri #1. It's not useful. Okay, hear me out on this. Night Flash says, Metalfish has machine typing for Cyber Dragon Infinity, but it's still bad. I don't think that's enough. I think Cybersaurus machine typing matters, but not Metalfish. It'd be extremely reaching. Next up, Amoeba. One of the things I've always wondered is, if you have a level 1 monster and it's water type, or it's water attribute, and it's under a Legendary Ocean, does it become level 0, or does it just stay level 1? It's something I wondered as a kid, and now I'm pretty sure it just stays as level 1, but what would the ramifications of a level 0 monster be? Anyway, back to Amoeba. Water attribute, level 1, aqua effect monster. When the control of this face-up card on the field shifts to your opponent, inflict 2000 points of damage to your opponent's life points. This effect can only be used once as long as this card remains face-up on the field. 300 attack, 350 defense. I never realized that there was more card text than the damaged, so I guess if your opponent gives it back, it doesn't burn you back? Ooh, I guess that means that if you give it to your opponent with Xian's Spy, it won't burn you on the way back? I don't see it as being useful, because how do you, like, you'd have to bounce it back and then use it multiple times. Even in a really slow game, I don't see amoeba being useful. Even with creature swap, and creature swap, this is one of the best targets to give to your opponent. Still not good. Next up, peacock. Just peacock, not mystic, not enchanted, not alluring, not some other adjective, just a normal run-of-the-mill peacock. It's like jellyfish. It's missing a word. Level 5, Winged Beast. A large peacock that launches its feathers in a lethal attack. 1700 attack, 1500 defense. We'll put it in the very bad normal monster tier for now. A legendary ocean cannot decrease to level 0 or lower. Ooh, what would a level -1 monster be like? That's what the Dark Signers had with their Dark Synchros. Next up, Maha Valo. Light attribute, level 4, spellcaster effect. This card gains 500 attack for each equip card equipped to this card. 1550 attack, 1400 defense. So, one of the things that you can do with Maha Valo, before we get to Armed Samurai Benkei, which is a better card, is you can get it to pretty decent attack, but specifically if you have Premature Burial and then you put it on it, then it's a 2050 attack monster, which is pretty good. I play amoeba in a goat deck for fun. It's a gimmick by goat standards. Ooh. That's pretty low power format, Arc V2. I don't see it being useful. But I like Maha Valo. I guess we'll put it in good on release, maybe. There have been uses for the card. And I think in like very limited card pools, it's pretty decent. I think the card's very draftable, for what that's worth. It's a light target for BLS or Chaos Sorcerer. Ooh, that's very reaching. Shining Friendship is a light target for BLS or Chaos Sorcerer too. Next up, Guardian of the Throne Room. Light attribute, level 4, Machine. A robot guard built to protect throne rooms. Very specific. It is armed with homing missiles. 1650 attack, 1600 defense. For a level 4, that's actually pretty high total stats, but it's still a normal tier for now. Next up, Fire Kraken. Fire attribute, level 4, Aqua. A squid that thrives on fire and heat. 1600 attack, 1500 defense. I actually thought that this was a fish-type monster, but no, there weren't any fish-type monsters by the time we got to Lonely Monster. So it's a normal. Goes in normal tier. Next up, Minar. Earth attribute, level 3, Insect effect. When this card is discarded directly from your hand to the graveyard by an effect of a card controlled by your opponent, inflict 1000 points of damage to your opponent's life points. 850 attack, 750 defense. You'd much rather be drawing 2 cards. I think it just goes in bad. You don't run this card. You run Electric Snake. Next up, the friend of amoeba. We have Griggle. Earth attribute, level 1, plant effect. When the control of this face-up card on the field shifts to your opponent, increase your life points by 3000. This effect can only be used once for as long as this card remains face-up on the field. And then it's got the reverse stats, so 350 attack, 300 defense. This is the offensive option. It's bad. I don't know if it's all the way to very bad, but it's just as hard as amoeba to use, and then the upside of gaining 3000 life points isn't that big. Next up, Tyjon number 2. Fire attribute, level 6, dragon. A crimson dragon that spits fireballs to create a blazing sea of fire. 1700 attack, 1900 defense. I think we're gonna put it in very bad. Question mark? It's a level 6 dragon, so technically you can use it in hieratic dragons because they like having level 5s and level 6 normal dragons. And level 8 normal dragons too, now that I think of it. But why would you use it? I remember people used to use him in hieratic. Aren't you going to get better use out of, not Rabid Dragon, Wattail Dragon, I think is the name of it? The one that's like 2450 attack. Does it go in gimmick tier maybe? I don't know. I really have no clue. I guess we put him in filler outclassed because there are better options, but you might want to play this one. Next up, Ancient One of the Deep Forest. Earth attribute, level 6, Beast. This creature adopts the form of a white goat living in the forest, but is actually a forest elder. 1800 attack, 1900 defense. We'll put him in very bad. Dunkathan Salt. How are the cards? So far, they're mostly bad in this set. I mean, we got a couple meta hits. We got a couple that are at least decent. But I don't think we've gotten to anything really good in Spell Ruler yet. Okay, Arc V2 says, the stats mattered so little that people would play the art they like. Maybe the fire matter, I don't remember. This is in reference to Tyjon number 2? I mean, I guess. Haven't been able to catch less live stream since LOB. Oh, well, I'm glad you made it tonight. Hopefully I'm gonna be able to get more consistently on Wednesday evenings. But the real world is a little bit difficult to play around. Next up, Dark Witch, which is a light attribute fairy monster, where you'd think it'd be a dark spellcaster, but actually this name is a pretty bad translation. The Japanese name is closer to Valkyrie, so I see what happened. Same thing happened with Duname's Dark Witch. So this card gets a pass for regionalization, but still very weird. Light attribute, level 5, Fairy. A popular creature in mythology that delivers fatal attacks with a powerful spear. I can't read. A popular, no wonder, creature in mythology that delivers fatal attacks with a sharp spear. 1800 attack, 1700 defense. We're going to put it in very bad. That's okay. The stream is going to be hosted later, and much later I hope to cut these out and cut out all the dead air and make nice premium edits with maybe additional overlays or information or contextual notes, because sometimes I get confused and think Goki Pole and Goki Pod are the same card, which is what happened with Killer Needle. Dark Witch was used recently or something. Dark Witch was actually the best target for extra deck monarchs with Brilliant Fusion. What? What? Gimmick? Question mark? Was actually the best target for extra deck monarchs with Brilliant Fusion. What were you bringing out with Brilliant Fusion? And why this card? I don't want to make clickbait. I want people to enjoy the video, and it just feels sour. This was in a 2016 and Extra Deck Monarchs. But why though? Kata Joe says, first time catching one of these live. I plan on watching some previous ones in my spare time for background. Keep up the good work, brother. Thank you. I guess Dark Witch gets to be meta at one point. You learn something every day. Next up, Weather Report. Water attribute, level 4, Aqua effect. Flip. Oh, this hasn't had a bit of a change on the ability line where it'd be flip effect. Anyway, flip. Destroy all your opponent's face-up Swords of Revealing Light cards on the field. If Swords of Revealing Light is destroyed, you can perform your battle phase twice this turn, or your next turn if activated during your opponent's turn. 950 attack, 1500 defense, and it just makes me laugh. This card is so specific. Okay. Confirmation from Jace. Gym Knight Seraphonite gives you an extra normal, and it was the best 1 tribute light to grab back with Gym Knight Lazuli. That was the best light target? For level 5? What? Weather report is a design mistake because of the every battle phase on every card. Weather report does limit design, I guess. This adds unnecessary text. It's sort of like asking, is Toad Slime a design mistake because they have to add Frog the Jam to the card text? This card is just so bad. I know one of the things that you can do, don't do this, is use exchange, give your opponent a Swords of Revealing Light, and then set your weather report, and then flip it, and get a second battle phase. That's not useful. I don't like it. I think there's actually another card that gives additional battle phases. I think it's called an Unfortunate Report that gives an extra battle phase to your opponent. Dark Witch is literally Gym Knight Garnet for the purpose of Brilliant Fusion. Okay. That's fair. It's the Garnet, it's the light attribute Garnet. Okay. Next up, Mechanical Snail. Dark attribute, level 3, Machine. A cyborg snail that still travels at a slow pace. 800 attack, 1000 defense. We'll put him in normal tier. Shoutouts to the report archetype for breaking battle phases. Are there more than just weather report? Are there other cards? I was unaware of that. Oh, wait. An unfortunate report. I just mentioned it. I'm silly. I thought there were other monsters. Next up, Giant Turtle who feeds on flames. Water attribute, level 5, Aqua. A crimson-shelled tortoise that feeds on flames. I mean, you can bring it out with Mother Grizzly. You can normal summon it under a legendary ocean, but it's still really bad. 1400 attack, 1800 defense. Not great. Garnet itself is a pretty garbage card, hence the whole term it got. You could use other Gym Knights, but Garnet technically has better stats. Yeah, and I think, what is it, Sapphire maybe is the defensive one with 2000 defense? Next up, Liquid Beast. Water, level 3, Aqua. A liquid life form that thrives in water. 950 attack, 800 defense. Pretty good creepy artwork, but it's still a normal monster. I guess we put Dark Witch back into gimmick tier if it's just a better Garnet. I don't. Really difficult to categorize. Indeed, Jace, Liquid Beast does look very polite. He's waiting his turn. He's got a question for you. He's just dying to ask you. Next up, Hero's Shadow Scout. Dark Attribute, level 2, Fiend, effect, flip. Your opponent draws 3 cards. Red flag. Red flag. Both players look at the cards. If there are any spell cards among them, discard all those spell cards to the graveyard. 650 attack, 500 defense. This card, your opponent draws 3 cards. That is so bad. This is one of the worst uses of card advantage. I know you could technically mill 3 cards from your opponent's deck, but wait for Needleworm to get released, because Needleworm at least does it consistently and doesn't have the chance of your opponent going +3 for no reason, and does it better. This card is just so bad. Mr. Raccoon 775. Hey, I love your content. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ryme. Should garnets have their own tier, not make it more complex or anything, Law? I don't know. I think gimmick or normal sort of fit. It's really weird because unexpected die and painful decision and treasure panda, advanced ritual art, there are a whole bunch of very niche applications for a lot of these older normal monsters that don't always come to mind. This card was good in Duel Links. Which card are you referring to? Hero Shadow Scout was good in Duel Links? You have the most laid back and relaxed content. Thank you. Hero Shadow Scout was on the ban list for Duel Links because Mill was so strong in that game. Hear me out. Hero Shadow Scout was instrumental in Team Mill and Duel Links. Trash. Meta at one point in Duel Links. It was part of a top tier deck. Heroes. Will you do more meta breakdown videos like you did for the 2007 meta? Yep. I'm actually working on the 2008 competitive right now. But first I'm going to release the second half of the 2007 banlist video, which is my current project, hopefully will be out Friday. Then after that, there's going to be a surprise video, and hopefully we're going to get it third quarter. I agree. Cards to consider is mostly there because it's a faster turnaround, and sometimes I like a card, but there's not a lot to say about it, and it doesn't really fit with other cards. But very, very good. I think Hero Shadow Scout in Duel Links doesn't count because this is a TCG list based on the TCG card pool, and I think it'd be unfair to bring it in. I definitely agree. Pendulums completely overhauled the game, and when we get there, I have a lot to say about them because there was still a lot of fun during the Pendulum Age, but then some later formats. But we'll get there when we get there. Isn't there some all-out attack Morphing Jar number 2 Shadow Scout Mill combo? Why use Shadow Scout though? Why not just use Needleworm? Wouldn't Needleworm be the better option? Because Sky Scout can't, or Heroes Scout can't do it all on its own, can it? I agree, Morphing Jar number 2, crazy card, but I don't think there's any use for it. It's crazy that this one card gets so much consideration because there's just so many moving parts in the game. I think we're gonna move past it just for the moment though. High Tide Gyojin. So Gyo as in fish. Water attribute level 4. Aqua, normal monster. A very agile half-fish warrior, known for its relentless attacks. 1650 attack, 1300 defense. We got some much better options right now. Pendulums are just way too complex for me. I literally have a playlist of your videos from Dest to newest. Dest to newest. I sometimes play it and listen to it before bed. You have really good content and good context and content. Thank you. Pendulum decks are not actually that complicated, but they are unintuitive. Oh, Jin in Japanese means person. Oh, I knew that. I knew that, like Jinzo. I knew that. I totally knew that. Yeah, half fish, half man. Very good work. I think my big problem with pendulum monsters is just you got a soul exchange every single turn. They were just so resilient for the time. Next up, Invader of the Throne. Earth attribute, level 4, warrior, effect monster. Flip. Select one monster on your opponent's side of the field and switch control of it with this card. This effect cannot be activated during the battle phase. 1350 attack, 1700 defense. So how do you use this if your opponent can't just attack into it? So you have to set it face down and then wait a turn and then hope they don't attack and then flip it up and then you creature swap with another monster. Which isn't that bad, but it's a lot of hoops to jump through. I know this card had some Duel Links success, but I'm just gonna put it in filler outclassed. Do you like roguelite deck builder games? Sometimes. Early on you had like Cleese, and that was about it, and could have puts tower into any kind of deck and it would be great. Yeah, Cleese were very resilient, and part of it's because they were normal pendulum monsters and they had all sorts of normal interactions without they're sort of cheating as normal monsters. But it's gonna be a long time till we get to pendulums, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. I don't know, depends on your point of view. Will you do a video on Master Duel? I don't have time right now. I'd love to, but the way my production schedule works right now makes it hard for me to do anything timely. So I've been trying to do a lot of evergreen or at least deciduous videos lately, just to try to make sure that I'm not going for a window that I'm going to miss by the time of release. Next up, Whiptail Crow. Dark attribute, level 4, Fiend, normal. How's this a Fiend? Attacks from the skies with a whip-like tail. 1650 attack, 1600 defense. See that stat line up a lot. But, normal monster. Next up, Slot Machine. Dark attribute, level 7, Machine. This machine's ability is said to vary according to its slot results. 2000 attack, 2300 defense. So a lot of people have said that they love the rules text or they love the flavor text on normal monsters, but this is one of the opposites, where I'd love to see this card implemented mechanically, where you have like a dice or a coin flip or at least something, and then it would gain or lose attack points based on the result. I think that would be really cool use for the card, but it's just a normal monster, so it's static in terms of attack and defense. It's level 7, it's normal, it's not good. I don't know where it fits. We'll put it next to the turtle. It is bizarre that it's not a counter card. Whiptail Crow is yet another questionable translation. I agree. Early regionalization team for Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't want to say that they dropped the ball, but they were probably underfunded. Oh, Whiptail Crow is also like Ryu's Senshi? Because there's already a gargoyle card. Roll 3 dice, gain attack if it's above 3, lose attack if it's like 3 or lower. Okay, that doesn't sound like it's balanced. Are you rating old school sets? Yeah, I'm going in order of release. We've gone from Legend of Blue Eyes, and we're all the way into Spell Ruler, and it's only taken a month. Next up, Relinquished. So Dark Attribute, level 1, Spellcaster, Ritual Effect. This is our first ritual monster. Woo! New type of monster introduced to the set, and it's blue! You can ritual summon this card with Black Illusion Ritual. Oh, I am reading modern text, by the way. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls, equip that target to this card, maximum 1. This card's attack and defense become equal to that equipped monster's. If this card would be destroyed by battle, destroy that equipped monster instead. While equipped with that monster, any battle damage you take from battles involving this card inflicts equal effect damage to your opponent. 1,000 attack. Not 1,000 attack. 0 attack, 0 defense. This card's real good. I'm not going to put it all the way up at worth considering today. I don't really know where to put cards like Relinquished or Blue Eyes Toon Dragon, which definitely had a chance to be meta, but not necessarily got all the way there. Relinquished is a real fun card. There were decks where Relinquished could work pretty. There are a lot of decks. Good on release is fair. I don't think it's just good on release. I think it's consistently good for quite a long time. Toon Blue Eyes I don't think was ever used. Actually, Toon Blue Eyes was used in magical library decks because you could go Toon Table, Toon Table, Toon Table, get Toon Blue Eyes, discard it for trade-in. Okay, so Relinquish saw Rogue play and Goat. Maybe it does go into meta. Dice-based deck builder game called Circadian Dice, which comes out July 11th. Okay. Are you getting a paid endorsement for that? I haven't tried it. Next up, Red Archery Girl. Water attribute, level 4, Aqua. A mermaid archer that hides in a protective shell, waiting for the right moment to strike. 1,400 attack, 1,500 defense. I think this card only exists for Toon Archery Girl or Toon Mermaid Archer. I can't remember the name now. But it's not good. I don't think you usually use Blue Eyes Toon Dragon as a toon, but there's a definite use for it. I think you could. I think toons could be meta if I tried real hard. Next up, Gravekeeper's Servant, continuous spell. Your opponent must send one card from the top of their deck to the graveyard to declare an attack. So this card is really weird. It has an obscure interaction with Dimensional Fissure because they can't determine whether or not the card goes to the graveyard or is banished. It means that your opponent can't attack. This may be an old ruling that no longer applies, but this card is a little bit weird, a little bit broken. I don't even know if it counts as a real Gravekeeper's card, or if that ever matters. Relinquish definitely finally had its day in the sun in Duel Links and Speed Duels. Oh, I agree. With Bad, Wrong, Fun. Relinquished is great. I love the card. I wish it had more competitive success, but I understand what happened. Fissure. Fissure. Dimensional Fissure. I'm pretty sure both are accepted. Dimensional Fissure. Anyway, next up is Curse of Fiend. Change the battle, a normal spell. Change the battle positions of all face-up monsters on the field to defense position. I'm going to try that one more time. Change the battle positions of all attack position monsters on the field to defense position, and vice versa. These positions cannot be changed during the turn this card is activated. except by the effect of a spell, trap, or effect monster card. You can only activate this card during your standby phase. It goes straight up to design mistake. And for a couple reasons. One, this card has personally annoyed me because it's had a ruling in Master Duel, as I've been told, that you have to set the card before you can activate it. So this card should have just been a quick play spell restricted specifically to your standby phase. It would have made the card so much simpler. This card is bad. This card is really bad. I think it's okay to put it in design mistake. Curse of Fiend must be set before activation and can be flipped during standby phase. Braba, design mistake. Yeah, I agree completely, Night Flash. At least Thousand Eyes Restrict is a VIP in GOAT. Thousand Eyes Restrict is... VIP is not strong enough. It's a meta-warping threat. Thousand Eyes Restrict, like, defined the way the game was played. Man, your SJC videos are amazingly underrated, and you really chronicled the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Very well. I have made so many mistakes, and I am just working on researching and developing, and hopefully they'll be better in the future, because everyone in the comments section points out when I can't read a card, hence me reading every single card in order of release. Okay, it's not just that it personally annoyed me. It's that this card doesn't operate like any other card in the game and causes confusion to players. I mean, and I did have a card to consider video lined up with it because I thought the effect was so unique, but now it's in a cards not worth considering on the second channel. Anyway. Claw F. I think a card is a design mistake if it limits how other game mechanics have to work or severely reduces gameplay. Ooh. Ooh. I like that definition. We're gonna actually screenshot that. It's so good. I think that's a really good definition. It's not quite the one that I'm operating with. I'm operating with self-admitted design mistakes. So any card that has either will never come off the ban list or have had an effect changing errata automatically go in design mistake. And then cards like final attack orders, which are closer to your definition, or cards like non-spellcasting area or Cyber Blader, which are just notorious for causing illegal game states or infinite loops, also fit in that. But that is a really good definition. Anyway, back to the stream. Upstart Goblin, normal spell. Draw one card, then your opponent gains 1,000 life points. Yeah, this card is definitely worth considering today. Definitely accurate read, bad, wrong, fun. I personally really dislike Upstart Goblin because I think the card is degenerate. It is probably a design mistake, all things considered, because it just enables FTKs, it makes for decks more consistent. Here's a question. Is it a greater cost to pay 1,000 life points or give your opponent 1,000 life points? It's a... Ooh, that's a good question. Like, the way the game thinks about it, you gain more life points than you can inflict damage to your opponent. If you think about like cards like Diane Keto Cure Master or Poison of the Old Man compared to Ukazi, the game seems to think that you gaining life points is more valuable than you inflicting damage. Or I said that backwards. That is something to think about. I think paying life points is always the better option. Or maybe not. If Solemn Judgment doubled your opponent's life points, would it still be good? Should there be a section for banned cards, or is it too restrictive? Usually I put banned cards or cards that are permabanned in the design mistake, and if they're not banned and worth playing, they're worth considering today. Unfortunately, this does not bring in too much of my personal opinion, because I'd be banning cards left and right. Doesn't see play in Master Duel because Max C is the better draw spell. Well, Max C isn't a spell, but yeah, Max C is great. It saw play because you can run low on life points and not be able to activate the card. Okay. It heavily depends on your own deck, whether paying life points or giving your opponent life points is better. Man, that is one of those thought-provoking questions. Anyway, Upstart Goblin also has a degenerate interaction with Nurse Reficule, or I guess now Dark Lord Nurse Reficule, or Bad Reaction to Samuchi, where this card is a cantrip that is also a Meteor of Destruction, and that just breaks the way the game is played. You have a neutral card advantage burn card. So strong. I definitely think that Upstart is easily worth considering today, although I don't recommend it. I don't endorse it is the best phrasing. Next up, Toll. Very short card name, just Toll. Continuous spell. Each player must pay 500 life points to declare an attack. This is like the original stall card, but it's not great. Ooh. Upstart Goblin would see more Master Duel play if it wasn't an ultra rare. Yeah. As a quick side note, for the purpose of rating, you're allowed to play 3 copies of any card. Just we're not considering rarity for these lists. Your Kaiba, you have access to 3 copies of every card, including Blue Eyes. Toll is definitely a floodgate. Not a useful one, though. I think it's just filler outclassed. Next up, Final Destiny. Normal spell. Discard 5 cards from your hand. That is the cost. Destroy all cards on the field. I have no idea why this card's cost is so high and it not just destroy all cards your opponent controls, which would have been at least okay, but this is a combination of Dark Hole and Heavy Storm, which are 2 cards. There are some exceptions that are worth considering with fewer than 3 copies, to be honest. Oh, I definitely agree. And some of the cards, when they enter the game, will be preemptively restricted to less than 3 copies. We're playing in a slightly idealized world. Final Destiny does have some interaction with Fableds and like dangers, maybe. It's just not good. It's so expensive. It's funny that Hero Scout and Final Destiny are in the same set because these are like 2 of the worst uses of card advantage. Ooh, that is a cost. You could run it in Diamond Dude Turbo. Destiny Hero Malicious comes to mind as a card I'd probably want to see rated as if you were playing 2 copies, to be honest. Ooh, that's a good question. So Destiny Hero Malicious came to the TCG with 3 copies, and it was great. And it bounces back between 2 and 3 all throughout the history of the game. That is we'll consider it when we get to like 2007, I think is when it came out. I don't see how that card can exist with Dark Hole, Raigeki, and Duster being part of the game. Yeah, and Heavy Storm and Dark Hole specifically are already out. I don't think Harpy Feather Duster has been released quite yet. If we assume all cards are at 3 copies, then certain extra deck cards are definitely way more busted than they actually ended up being after getting limited. Oh, I agree. It's going to be a little bit fuzzy because there are technically, I think like Dark Matter Dragon had one event where it was legal, and then the card got banned. But we'll get there when we get there. I don't know. Maybe Final Destiny does go in gimmick with Diamond Dude Turbo, but there's much better things to hit off of your Diamond Dude. Next up, Snatch Steal. Equip spell. Equip only to a monster your opponent controls. Take control of the equipped monster. During each of your opponent's standby phases, they gain 1,000 life points. Hey, another card that's giving your opponent life points. It's right next to Upstart Goblin. Would you run Snatch Steal? Yeah, there's a ton of cards that go really well with Snatch Steal. I mean, it's searchable because it's an equip card. I think Swords at Dawn might even work on it, where you can surprise your opponent. Haha, I steal your card. Snatch Steal is just a dirty card. I don't like it. I don't know why it comes off the ban list every now and again. Just for fun. Rock token greater than Snatch Steal. If Snatch Steal or Change of Heart better? Ooh, that's a good question. So Snatch Steal is easier to search. Change of Heart is less conditional. Snatch Steal is vulnerable to removal, but you can keep it for longer. Equip spells support is so good, Snatch Steal is probably the best monster steal effect. I can agree with that. It's interesting that it being an equip is what makes it a mistake, because you can just giant grenade it. Yeah, you can. But then you give the monster back. No. Summon that rock token with Nibiru, then Snatch Steal it. Oh. Okay, I get it. And then you have another monster on board, and then you start with your play. I understand. Next up, Chorus of Sanctuary. Field spell. Don't see a lot of those. Increase the defense of all defense position monsters by 500 points. Another TCG censorship. Gotta remove all the halos from this cherub. I mean, it's fine. All equip spell support is designed around the idea that all equip spells are awful garbage cards. Yeah, it's just... Card advantage is everything in Yu-Gi-Oh! So the idea of being 2-for-1'd by your opponent just makes equip spells really hard to use, or really hard to use effectively. Next up, Confiscation. Normal spell, pay 1,000 life points. Look at your opponent's hand, select one card in it, and discard that card. So this is a select, not target. I guess your opponent can use hand traps. Confiscation is dirty. This is such a poorly designed card. There's even a couple that are worse in this set. For some reason, this set is like Hand Disruption as a priority. I hate this card. I hate the way it feels. You got your hand trap, you got your disruption tool, you got maybe a trap card you haven't set yet if you're going second. It just does not feel good to play against. Same thing with Snatch Steal, actually. Speaking of which, another discard card, Delinquent Duo. Normal spell, pay 1,000 life points, your opponent discards one random card, and if they have any other cards in their hand, discard one more card of their choice. This is a 2-for-1, and it's just dirty. Oh yeah, evil card. I completely concur. Ooh, is Confiscation better than Delinquent Duo? Because you get to see your opponent's hand. That might make it better. Oh, you were thinking about Premature Burial with Giant Trinid. Yeah, Premature Burial, best equipped card, probably. Darkness Approaches used to be able to flip monsters face down. Whoa, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Had some busted spell and traps and trash monsters. Can't agree more. The card art is a design mistake. On Confiscation or on Delinquent Duo? Yeah, it's the hand knowledge and the choice that really makes Confiscation a mistake. I can agree with that. I can't believe that Exchange saw competitive play because of hand disruption and information. Yeah, I don't like Delinquent Duo's artwork. A little bit creepy. Next up, Darkness Approaches. Normal spell, discard 2 cards from your hand. Select one face-up monster and flip it face down, but do not change its battle position. And as mentioned in the chat, this card did have the very funny interaction of being able to flip monsters into face-down attack position, which caused a whole bunch of different rulings. And now we have Link monsters, which can't be flipped face down at all. And like, the card has since had an errata, but this card is a design mistake. Even if it weren't like that, it only hits 1 monster. This card is so bad. It's a 3-for-1, but it's not even a 3-for-1. It's just use 3 cards for a very marginal effect. Yeah, they thankfully removed face down attack position. This card has had an effect changing erratum, but I guess a card hasn't been printed to reflect it yet. Definitely a design mistake. I don't know if I'd ever want a face down attack position monster. It's just too confusing. I'd love to see a rule change where you could normal summon in face up defense position though. I think that would make the game a little bit better. Because they can do it in the anime. I don't know why you can't do it in the real game. Next up, Fairy's Hand Mirror. Trap card. When your opponent activates a spell card that targets exactly 1 monster and no other cards on the field, target another card that would be an appropriate target. That spell now targets the new target. Ooh. People have asked for this card because it's interesting that it's sort of like fake trap or reverse trap, where haha, you have triggered my trap card, and it's very specific and it can work in some instances and it reads better than it actually is, so I'm just gonna put it in filler outclassed. We should demand a Darkness Approaches reprint. We shouldn't though. I like the idea behind Fairy's Hand Mirror, but it's just not strong enough. Same thing with Tailor of the Fickle, actually. Quick play spell. Select one equipped. Ooh, it's hard. Select one equip card and switch it to another target. One more time. Select one equip card and switch it to another correct target. Does this mean that you could switch like Cocoon of Evolution or maybe like Mind Parasite or Union Monsters? It says equip card, but I think all the equip cards, all the monsters that treat themselves, or all the monsters and traps that treat themselves as equip spells? I don't know. Really weird. I agree. Why use Fairy's Hand Mirror when you could just use Magic Jammer and just stop it? Tailor of the Fickle artwork though. Look at the dude on the right. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Don't look at it too long. It'll start having questions. I like the idea. I don't think it's particularly good. You can go, haha, and surprise your opponent by showing by increasing the attack, but there is more reliable battle tricks in this set. Given the wording, I think you would have to be able to equip that card from the hand. The effect is cool, but far too bad for a single spell. True, Magic Jammer does have a discard. Magic Drain. Is Magic Drain in this set? Magic Drain might come out this year, but not necessarily in this set. Time to throw this into my Edison side deck as a tech against Machina, but not really. I don't know. Some of these old cards just have weird rulings. A lot of these cards never saw play, so I don't know if the rulings even exist. Next up, Rush Recklessly. Quick play spell. Target one face-up monster on the field. It gains 700 attack until the end of this turn. So you might not think about it, but this card was actually meta. And it was a really strong battle trick. You saw it a lot in gadget decks, but some other decks in the 2007 metagame that I just covered, I'll probably put it next to Electric Snake. It was really strong all the way up until, I think the only cards that really displaced it were the forbidden cards, so like Lance, Cup, Dress, which sorta do the same thing but have additional utility. It wasn't just good on release, it was meta. We go by the highest degree of success that the card has achieved. Unfortunately, the Reliable Guardian, its counterpart, is another quick play spell with the effect, increase one face-up monster's defense by 700 points until the end of this turn. Is really underwhelming. Like, you can't push damage with it. And the other real big problem with increasing defense points is that your opponent's monster that attacks into your defense position monster isn't going to be destroyed. You're just going to be doing minor damage to their life points, and that's not worth it. It'd be interesting if there is a card later released that's Counterpunch, I can't remember the English name, that makes it so that if your opponent attacks your defense position monster and they have less attack points than you have defense points, then their monster is destroyed, but still not good with the Reliable Guardian. Yeah, Rush Recklessly being a quick play spell is very important because you could use it under Genzo or Royal Decree, and that came up quite a lot actually. Very flexible card. Next up, the Forceful Sentry. Normal spell, look at your opponent's hand. Select one card among them and return it to his or her deck. The deck is then shuffled. This card is so strong. Like, this card should never come off the ban list. It is better than Confiscation for several reasons. Confiscation discards, so I guess you could technically have like discard effects go off, but the Forceful Sentry shuffles into the deck, so nothing is going to go off. You look at your opponent's hand for no cost. The Forceful Sentry is just so good. I have no idea why this card is so good. Oh.
Stop! You violated the law.
And that too. Next up, Chain Energy. Continuous spell. Each player must pay 500 life points per card to normal summon, special summon, set, or activate cards from his or her respective hand. So like, I don't know if this card is ever useful, but it reads Like, you activate 3 copies of Chain Energy, and you pass turn, and then what's your opponent going to do? Well, they're going to use their Harpy's Feather Duster. But assuming that they don't have spell and trap removal, how are they going to play the game? Ooh, okay, so the potential downside of the Forceful Sentry is that they might draw the card later, which is the downside of Wiretap, but I don't consider that a real downside. I don't think if Chain Energy was good or bad, but I will declare it a war crime. Yeah, this card is not good to play against. It does not feel good. Very disturbing art, too. Chain Energy plus the branded fusion card. It is pretty good in certain burn decks. I will agree with that. I mean, it's weak to mass spell and trap removal, but when that's banned, and in formats where your opponent's going to be summoning a lot, like any modern Yu-Gi-Oh! In the past 5 years, I can see this card being very gimmicky. Oh, and don't even get me started about end-of-match procedures. Like, that's another thing that would make the card real strong. Anyway, we're on to Mystical Space Typhoon. Quick play spell. Target 1 spell or trap on the field. Destroy that target. Ooh, good question is it worth considering today? Or is it just meta at one point? Mystical Space Typhoon was good for like most of the history of the game. It spent so much time on the Forbidden and Limited list. The card is really strong. In fact, it's outdated our best spell and trap removal at the time, which I guess is Trap Master, Armed Ninja, Dispel, and Trap Jammer. Power crept all 4 of those cards. Still worth considering, to be honest. It is premium spell and trap removal. It's just meta dependent is the thing. Sometimes you want Galaxy Cyclone, sometimes you want Cosmic Cyclone, sometimes you want Twin Twisters. I really don't know where to put it. Mystical Space Typhoon hasn't seen a top since 2020, so I think it's good to put in meta at one point. I think that's a very fair place. Next up, Giant Trunade. Normal spell. Return all spell and trap cards on the field to the hand. Oh man. You wouldn't think so. You'd think like Heavy Storm or Harpy's Feather Duster are superior to this, but this card is really, really strong. Return like old Future Fusion to your hand, return Premature Burial to your hand, return a whole bunch of continuous spell or traps and just reuse them again. It is very obviously busted, and I think it just took a little bit of time for people to realize how strong it was. I think Cold Wave is a similar card, to be honest. It's always been powerful. We just haven't unlocked the potential yet. Trunade enables the Reversal Quiz, FTK, and Goat. Ooh, that is another use. Next up, Painful Choice. Normal spell. Select 5 cards from your deck and reveal them to your opponent. Your opponent selects 1 card among them, add that card to your hand, and discard the other cards. You can set up Exodia Necros with this, but no, this card, I don't know if it's better than Giant Trunade, but it is ridiculously strong. Just saying this out loud, this card is 4 Foolish Burials plus tutor/search for your best card, or what your opponent thinks is the worst of your best cards. Painful Choice equals worst Snake Rain. Oh yeah, I will definitely admit that Snake Rain is not as good as Painful Choice, but Snake Rain's still really good in theory. I think Trunade was an actual mistake because they thought it had a downside when designing it. Oh yeah, Giant Trunade's a -1. Why would you want that? You just bounce everything back to hand and then you'll play it again next turn? This one is the exact same mistake as Giant Trunade. Yeah, where a lot of people might see Painful Choice. Oh no, you're sending 4 cards to the graveyard? That's terrible. What are you going to do with those 4 Dragon Rulers? What are you going to do with those perfect 4 Lightsworns or perfect graveyard setup in your zombie deck? Painful was good at the time, but not that good. But it also only got better with time and will only get better every day. Was Painful Choice good on release? I think Painful Choice is good on release. Maybe not meta-defining, but it's really good graveyard setup. And I know there are less graveyard payoffs, but I think it's worth it. That's true. Painful Choice at worst is free deck thinning, and at best, it perfectly sets up Exodia Necros. Next up, Snake Fang. Normal trap, decrease one selected monster's defense by 500 points during the turn that this card is activated. What? I don't understand. Because we saw, like, Rush Recklessly and the Reliable Guardian in this set. We saw Reinforcements and Castle Walls in earlier sets. This card is sort of just worse than Castle Walls. And that card's not good. If Konami makes a retrain for it, I think they're admitting a mistake in the game, such as Hey Trunade and Cold Feet. Ooh. Okay, so Cold Feet isn't really a retrain. I'd say that Heat Wave is the retrain for Cold Wave, but I definitely agree with Hey Trunade, and we sort of did get a retrain. We got Painful Decision, which is sort of similar to Painful Choice. Okay, so you can use Snake Fang to run over 2k walls, which are relevant in the metagame, but you could just use Rush Recklessly. And Rush Recklessly is more flexible and can be used a turn earlier. I definitely agree with Raigeki. Ooh, gotta get some tea. Raigeki has definitely had some retrains. I think the most notable one is probably Lightning Vortex, and even Lightning Vortex was limited to 1. Anyway, Snake Fang, very bad. Next up, Black Illusion Ritual. Ritual spell. Haven't seen one of those before. This card is used to ritual summon Relinquished. You must also offer a monster. You must also attribute a monster from your hand or field whose level is 1 or more. That is such awkward wording. I think we discussed earlier in the stream that you can't have a level 0 monster. But you bring out Relinquished with the ritual, Black Illusion Ritual. Do you bring out Relinquished with the ritual? Because there's also Contract with the Abyss and an advanced ritual art, which could be used. There will be better options, but at least on release, with Relinquished, it was the best option, because it was the only option. Pre-prep rights and Contract with the Abyss has to be exact. Oh, that is true. Contract with the Abyss would mean that you have to run level 1 monsters. Next up, Octoberser. Water attribute, level 5, aqua. A lot of these level 5 aquas. With the head of a fish and the legs of an octopus, this strange creature attacks enemies by flinging spears. 1600 attack, 1400 defense. We have 7 colored fish. This card's just worse than 7 colored fish. Next up, Psychic Kappa. Water attribute, level 2, aqua. An amphibian with a myriad of powers to shield it from enemy attacks. 400 attack, 1000 defense. Put it in normal tier. I think this card actually got a retrain. Psychic Kappa, I think there's a rank 2 Xyz monster that's a retrain for it. Yeah, 1600 attack at level 5 is just not going to do anything. Even at level 4 though, it's still not going to do anything because we have 7 colored fish. Something 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 Alo. Next up, Horn of the Unicorn. Equip spell. The equip monster gains 700 attack and defense. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, return it to the top of the deck. That is a mandatory effect. I mean, I'll put it in good on release. This card does have the potential of denying you draws in the future, for better or worse. I think it's a pretty strong equip spell for the time at least. 700 attack and defense? That means it's not better than Axe of Despair. It is better than Malevolent Nuzzler. And it's better than Stimpak. Psychic Kappa was used for Unexpected Die for Totally Awesome. Oh, it's a Totally Awesome target. I guess that means it goes next to Dark Witch. There are other level 2 aqua monsters though. I think we might have even covered other level 2 aqua monsters. Myriad of powers equals 1k defense. The latter half of this set is really bringing me back. I think there were some of the only cards my older brothers had when I was a kid. Oh yeah, everyone has a whole box of like common cards from the first few sets, and they're all bad normal monsters. I think it's just worse sort of the deep-seated, like technically more points, but that's only from the field means that it has less use. Kappa versus Slime Toad. Oh yeah, Toad Slime. Yeah, I think Slime Toad might be the new name. Frog the Jam. Frog the Jam was $60. Oh no, it's so strong. That's crazy. We're not going to consider real world prices. So I guess Frog the Jam is real powerful. I know for a fact we had a few tunes, Hungry Burger, and Horn of the Unicorn. Oh man. I hope you played with tunes. Next up, Labyrinth Wall. Level 5, normal monster, rock. These walls form a labyrinth with no exit for enemies. Okay, if there's no exit, how do you get in? 0 attack, 3000 defense. Well, that's a big number. It's level 5. It's not water, so you can't normal summon it without tribute. It'll get replaced with Neo Aquamador later, but it's okay. I play with tunes to this day. I wish we could all take the game just a little less seriously overall. But actually, new tunes are much better, so I might retract that comment. I love the interaction with Labyrinth Wall and Giant Rat, but then you summon it in attack position, and it's got 0 attack. I guess if your opponent has no more monsters which can attack, you could summon Labyrinth Wall in attack mode, and then during your turn, swap it to defense mode. I'm just gonna keep it at good on release. Cards that need to distribute for a normal set leave a bad taste in my mouth. That's very true. because your opponent's just going to use Nobleman of Crossout or some sort of removal option. Rain McKnight. Hello. Hello. New tunes are pretty usable, but they're still far from serious meta deck. I agree. It's not good, but it's funny. Oh, that's what matters. Where's the tier list based on humor? Next up, Wall Shadow, which is Dark Attribute, level 7, Warrior, for some reason, Effect Monster. Cannot be normal summoned / set. Must first be special summoned with Magical Labyrinth. 1600 attack, 3000 defense. Oh, it's got Wall Shadow's attack, or not Wall Shadow, it's got Shadow Ghoul's original attack, and then Labyrinth Wall's defense points, which is okay. This card is pretty bad. We'll get to Magical Labyrinth in 2 cards, it looks like, but Wall Shadow is not good. Tier list for card art only. Ooh. That might be a silly tier list. I might... we'll hold on to that. I might get some of my favorite card art and some of my least favorite card art. Nomi monsters are bad. Oh, wait. Can't you use a wild monster appears to bring out Wall Shadow? That doesn't help. It's just not useful. Next up, Twin Long Rods number 2. Water attribute, level 3, Aqua. An amphibious creature with 2 whip-like tails. 850 attack, 700 defense, and a stare that will peel paint off the walls. This guy is creepy looking. Next up, Stone Ogre Grotto. Earth attribute, level 5, Rock. A behemoth shaped by giant boulders. 1600 attack, 1500 defense. Put him with the very bad normal monsters. You'd have to cheat on it with something that explicitly ignores summoning conditions. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a wild monster is the only card that comes to mind. I don't know if Wall Shadow looks bad. I thought it was pretty good artwork. Next up, Magical Labyrinth. Equip spell. All the rage in this set. Equip only to Labyrinth Wall. You contribute the equipped monster special summon Wall Shadow from your deck. What? Okay, so you have to have a level 5 monster on board. Then you have this very specific equip spell, and then it tributes, and then it only special summons from deck. So if you draw Wall Shadow, you're out of luck. And you go -1, and you had to get Labyrinth Wall out. And then Wall Shadow only has 1600 attack. I don't know why. This card is so bad. Put it next to Wall Shadow at least. Twin Long Rods has the bad artwork. I agree with that. So many extra steps. You can't Diamond do Turbo it because it's not a normal spell. Wall Shadow was cool in the anime. With the maze at least. Oh, I agree. The Paradox Brothers Labyrinth duel was real cool. I like the, I can't remember the name of the other set of brothers. The ones that use the Mass Beast card. Those were real cool too. I'm playing Master Duel and I just stalled out a Boral Sword Dragon for 2 turns by doing a normal set and passing. Felt totally like Playground Yu-Gi-Oh! Just now. Oh, that's so nice. I'm glad. Normal set and pass. Advanced level tactics. Wait, you can't Diamond Dude Turbo equip spells, yeah. Twin Long Rods was designed by a child for one of the Create a Monster events in Japan. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be so mean on it. Well, I feel bad now. Next up, Eternal Rest. Normal spell, destroys real old card text. Destroy all monsters equipped with equipped cards. I feel like there's a use for Eternal Rest, or at least there could be a niche use where you have it in your side deck and you bring it out. Not like against Noble Knights, but if there was ever a deck that were playing Union monsters in the metagame, or maybe Dragoonides or something? I don't know. You've seen Twin Long Rods number 2. Wait until you see Twin Long Rods number 1. I have no idea what that card looks like. I've never heard of it. Next up, Megamorph. Equip spell. While your life points are lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster's attack becomes double its original attack. While your life points are higher, the equipped monster's attack become half its original attack. So this card operated completely differently in Forbidden Memories, but it's meta. It was even on the Forbidden Unlimited list. It went to 1 at one point. So this card just facilitates OTKs more than anything. It was in Cyberstein, it was OTK. It was in Demise OTK. It's in like those weird Malefic Cyber End Dragon OTKs. Oh, it's a bad card. It definitely saw a lot of meta success. Is it a degenerate card? Yeah, probably. And it says original attack, and like, I think Unstable Evolution is one of the very few cards that interacts by changing the original attack, so maybe there's some combination between those. Any effect that relies on life point numbers that you can control is a dumb effect. I agree. Maybe I agree. I think the idea was that it's balanced, that if you're behind, then you can get a big boost, but if you're winning, then you get a detriment to yourself. Ooh. You could equip Megamorph to your opponent's monster. That is something, I'm not sure I've ever thought of that. Interesting. It's sort of like Rare Yoko then. Next up, Commencement Dance. Did this card get a name-changing erratum? In my mind, it's called Commencement of the Dance. But I might just be wrong. Might be a Mandela effect. Ritual spell. This card is used to ritual summon Performance of Sword. You must also tribute monsters whose total stars equals 6 or more from the field or your hand. So like, gimmick potential? Because I know level 6 is important, and like Hieratics could sort of use Commencement Dance to tribute their Hieratics in their hand. I don't know. Sort of useful. Same vein as Hamburger Recipe. This card is used to ritual summon Hungry Burger. You must also tribute monsters whose total level stars equals 6 or more from field or your hand. I'm gonna put in the same gimmick tier. I don't know. It's either put them in bad or gimmick, because I've seen them. I guess I've seen them in bad hieratic builds though. You're better off using like Share the Pain maybe. Commencement Dance is giving the peace sign though. Oh, that is cute. That card is straight broken. Don't know how it hasn't been banned yet, to be honest. Oh. Maybe you do put Hungry Burger or Hamburger Recipe higher. It's very cool artwork though. Next up, House of Adhesive Tape. Normal trap. If the defense of a monster summoned by your opponent, excluding special summon, is 500 points or less, the monster is destroyed. This is a really weird member of the trap hole family that doesn't contain trap hole in its name. But it's interesting. I'm just going to say filler outclassed because technically this isn't bad. It's just very narrow. Megamorph could interact with Appaloosa since the monster's original attack is 800 multiplied by X. Interesting. Man, all these terrible cards are so memorable, coming from Derek Man. I agree. There's something endearing about all these old sets. I really like them. Next up, Eat Gaboon, or I think it's like Bear Trap or something similar in the Japanese name. If the normal trap, if the attack of a monster summoned by your opponent excluding special summon is 500 points or less, the monster is destroyed. Like, ideally you could hit some combo starters with these cards with House of Adhesive Tape, but they ignore special summon monsters for some reason. I think that's an unnecessary restriction. I feel like a permanent House of Adhesive Tape would make for a good floodgate. Ooh. Oh, a niche floodgate. I don't know why they exclude special summon. I can't remember if the original trap hole does too. Those two traps would have been amazing if they were continuous and more monsters had 0 for a stat back then. I mean, they're not that bad. I could see House of Adhesive Tape being played against like zombies in the side deck if Zombie Master and a whole bunch of the other ones were tier 1. Maybe. I don't know. I think filler's fine to say. Next up, Turtle Oath. Ritual spell. This card is used to ritual summon Crab Turtle. You must also tribute monsters whose total levels... Ooh. Oh, that is wording. Weird wording by comparison. Where I think the earlier ones said total level stars or total stars. They can't get the wording consistent. I'm going to restart the text though. This card is used to ritual summon Crab Turtle. You must also tribute monsters whose total levels equals 8 or more from your hand or your field. I think we'll put it with bad. It's interesting. I think like Crab Turtle was the only water ritual for quite some time. It might actually still be the only water attribute ritual before Kieshki's. Very unique. I definitely had Turtle Oath and Crab Turtle. I'm pretty sure every card I have actual nostalgia was from. I'm pretty sure that every card I have actual nostalgia for was in this set. Oh, that's cute. Coming from Dunkathan Salt. A lot of people started the game like way back when, and I think it's fun to go back. There was a Fortress Well that was stuck in a tournament pack. Oh, you're right. There are some other cards. We'll get there when we get there. Really digging the artwork on Performance of Sword, though. It's a little psychedelic, a little wavy. Very cool. This is an Earth attribute, level 6, Warrior, Ritual. This monster can only be ritual summoned with the ritual spell card Commencement Dance. You must also offer monsters whose total level stars equal 6 or more as a tribute from your field or your hand. 1950 attack, 1850 defense. These stats are so low on the early ritual monsters, and then it doesn't do anything on the field. I mean, like, this is barely better than Paladin of White Dragon, which comes a little bit later. If normal monsters get a tier, the bad ritual monsters and spells should too. Ooh. Oops. I did it again. Every time I get confused how the tier list works. I guess that's fair. We'll put the new ritual monsters in the ritual tier. I think that's fair. Or just count them as normal if they don't have effects. Technically, they're not normal monsters, they're non-effect monsters. And certain cards interact with non-effect monsters, but not a ton. Mudball Man tier. No, Mudball Man is just bad. Next up, Hungry Burger. Dark Attribute, level 6. Warrior, Ritual. This monster can only be ritual summoned with the ritual spell card, Hamburger Recipe. You must also tribute monsters whose total levels equal 6 or more from the field or your hand. 2000 attack, 1850 defense. I guess it's the best one so far. It's weird that the ritual monster writes out the summoning requirements in addition to the ritual spell doing it. Oh yeah. They've changed how ritual spells work now, like as far as the text. I think it's an introductory set problem where, oh wow, brand new mechanic. How do we explain it to people? What if someone just pulls a ritual monster or just pulls a ritual spell? How are they going to know what it is? If a ritual monster does not outline special summoning conditions, I think it interacts differently with Monster Reborn Right. Could only be ritual summoned with the ritual spell card. I think they're non-effect monsters, so you can like special summon them from hand sometimes, or special summon them from the graveyard. But that might be wrong. I think they might be semi-nomi. Straight up busted, meta-defining, needs an emergency ban on Hamburger Recipe. Ooh. And Hungry Burger, I guess. I'd consider Hamburger Recipe today. Ritual really smells like first Konami trying to make a synchro-like summoning, but not being comfortable with summoning without a card like polymerization yet. Ooh, that's a good way of looking at it. I actually think that this is the manga being weird. Like, ritual spells in the manga are even weirder. Like, they will, I think Blackluster Soldier requires like a Fiend and a light monster or something. It's super strange. I think the whole ritual summon, and this is gonna be a What If Wednesday in the future, is a little bit weird, because you just go so minus in card advantage for a super minor tempo play. And I think if we could ritual summon monsters directly from the deck, not the new ones, but like the old school non-effect ritual monsters, I think they'd actually be pretty playable as far as tempo. Because you could use advanced ritual art and then bring out like your Hungry Burger, and it wouldn't be too bad. Ritual was the gimmick in the dual monsters era. I agree. And then like Alexis got ritual monsters for some reason. I think Monster Reborn needs the ritual to have been ritual summoned before being sent to the graveyard. I think that's right. I think they're semi-nomi. Which is like text that we probably need specified on all cards is how they can be summoned or must first be special summoned. A lot of the old cards haven't had changes yet. Next up, Crab Turtle. Water Attribute, level 8, Aqua Ritual. This monster can only be ritual summoned with the ritual spell Turtle Oath. You must also tribute monsters whose total levels equal 8 or more from the field or your hand. 2550 attack, 2500 defense. We'll put him next to Turtle Oath. This card's not good. I don't think it's good. If summoned from the deck, they should honestly be in the extra deck to be available all the time. Yeah, but then you're making another extra deck summon. Toon Blackluster Soldier has the same summoning requirement as BLS, but it doesn't need a ritual card, which is interesting to me, in my opinion. Ooh, we'll look at that soon. I do like self-contained cards because cards which rely on other cards are inherently inconsistent. Next up, Ryuran, or if you're 8-year-old me, Ryuran. Fire attribute, level 7. Dragon, a vicious little dragon sheltered in an egg that looks deceptively harmless. 2200 attack, 2600 defense. Well, at least it has more defense than attack because it's hiding. We'll put them in bad normal monsters. Like put them next to Slot Machine. This is followed by Manga Ryuran. I don't know why Toon Blue Eyes was a secret rare, like all the way at the beginning of the set. Another fire attribute, level 7, Dragon Toon effect. This card is always treated as a Toon card. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned from your hand by attributing 2 monsters while you control Toon World. Cannot attack the turn it is special summoned. You must pay 500 life points to declare an attack with this monster. If Toon World on the field is destroyed, destroy this card. Can attack your opponent directly unless they control a Toon monster, in which case this card must attack a Toon monster. This card must target a Toon monster for its attacks. 2200, 2600. So same stats. Maybe we put it in bad. It's not great. You have a directly better option with the Toon Blue Eyes. Turtle Oath could maybe be need to... gotta read this twice. The only FP. Turtle Oath could maybe be need to turn a Blue Eyes in hand into a monster on board. Oh, okay. Turtle Oath could potentially be used to turn a Blue Eyes in your hand into a level 8 monster on board. But that's a -3 in card advantage, and that is a really bad rate when you might as well just discard the Blue Eyes and then use Monster Reborn. Toons are so bad, Lamau. Well, early toons are probably, but I still think that there's a little bit of potential for early toons. Toon Mermaid's at least okay. Speaking of which, Toon Mermaid. Water attribute, level 4. Aqua, Toon, effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from hand while you control Toon World. Cannot attack the turn it is special summoned. You must pay 500 life points to declare an attack with this monster. If Toon World on the field is destroyed, destroy this card. Can attack your opponent directly unless they control a Toon monster, in which case this card must target a Toon monster for its attacks. 1400 attack, 1500 defense. This card special summons itself from hand. That's actually pretty good. I think it's even better than Blue Eyes because you don't use your normal summon on it, and you're not using your normal summon on the other toons. So potentially you could get some decent board presence with Toon Mermaid. Next up, Toon Summon Skull. Dark attribute, level 6. Fiend, Toon, effect. This card is always treated as an Archfiend card. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by attributing 1 monster while you control Toon World. Cannot attack the turn it is special summoned. You must pay 500 life points to declare an attack with this monster. If Toon World on the field is destroyed, destroy this card. Can attack your opponent directly unless they control a toon monster, in which case must target a toon monster for its attacks. 2500 attack, 1200 defense. All the toon monsters recycle the stats, but I actually think this one goes right next to the blue eyes. As pointed out earlier, you can use Soul Exchange, tribute for your Toon Summon Skull, and then still have your normal summon. That's not bad. Toon Mermaid is significantly better than the old toons because its drawbacks don't actually matter. You're just getting a free card on field to do stuff with immediately. Oh yeah. So you can get Toon World on field, and then special summon the Toon Mermaid, and then tribute out a Monarch. Well, we don't have Monarchs quite yet. Next set, I think we get Genzo, though. Might be the following set. Toon Mermaid is pretty good in toons because it meets the requirements for Bahamut Shark into totally awesome. That sounds like a gimmick right there. Special summon Toon Mermaid, then summon the big boy for 2500 attack. Or you could summon the original big boy to summon Skull for 2500 attack, and it could attack that turn. I think there's just a little bit of potential. Sometime I'm gonna see if I can make a functioning goat format toon deck, because I think that'll be fun. Next up, Jigen Bakugan. No wait, Jigen Bakudan. Fire attribute, level 2. Pyro, flip effect monster. Flip. After this card is flipped, tribute it during your standby phase to destroy all monsters you control and inflict damage equal to half of your total attack of the destroyed cards, excluding this monster, to your opponent. 200 attack, 1000 defense. Why does it exclude itself? I don't understand why this card is so bad. It goes right next to the Hero Scout probably. Because it is just so bad. You're destroying your own monsters, and then you're waiting. And it tributes itself. And not even for that much damage. This card is just really bad. You're so much better off with like Time Wizard. True, Toon Summon Skull can attack directly, but it would cost 500 life points. Jigen is probably a design mistake for just risk versus reward. I don't know if it's design mistake, maybe new player trap. It's not great. I know what it is. I know it's an anime card, and they want to be faithful to the anime, but the anime cards are not good. The anime cards are pretty bad a lot of the time. Next up is Hyozan Ryu. Light attribute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars. Dragon. A dragon created from a massive diamond that sparkles with blinding light. 2100 attack, 2800 defense. It's not great. Guess we'll put it next to the other dragon. Just having more defense points and lower attack, it's not great. I think Seiya Ryu is probably the better option, but I guess you could use Hyozan Ryu maybe in that deck. I don't know. That's true. Toon Summon Skull takes a full turn to even work, to even get to the point where it can attack. That summoning sickness is just weird. Next up, Toon World. Continue a spell. Activate this card by paying 1000 life points. This might just be the worst effect in the game. Like, honestly, this card just takes away 1000 life points and does nothing. This card's so bad. I understand that Toon World is necessary for the other Toon cards, but it is not good on its own. It's man, I'd love to see a classic retrain of Toon World, like a 2005 retrain of Toon World. That would just do anything else, but it's okay. We got Toon Kingdom much, much, much later. Next up, Cyberjar. Dark attribute, level 3, rock, effect, flip. Destroy all monsters on the field. Then both players reveal the top 5 cards on their decks, from their decks. Then special summon all revealed level 4 or lower monsters in face-up attack position or face-down defense position. Also, add any remaining cards to their hand. If either player has less than 5 cards in the deck, reveal as many as possible. 900 attack, 900 defense. Ooh, another jar card. This one's really strong. So the problem with Cyberjar, well, maybe the multiple problems with Cyberjar is that you can use this for really efficient card draw. Like next to Morphing Jar, this is another card that you can use for deck out FTK decks, like Empty Jar style decks. And sort of. You probably want more than just the Cyberjar. Drawing 5 cards off of it being flip face up, really strong. There are now Toon World alternatives. It's kind of fair to say that it's the worst card in the entire game. Is Toon World the worst card in the entire game? Maybe. It's a question of like, is Gift Card worse than Toon World? Is giving your opponent 3,000 life points better or worse than paying 1,000 life points? Because at least Toon World is used with Royal Magical Library. Cyberjar is fantastic for comeback 2 if you're out of gas. I agree. Toon World does not see play in Reversal Quiz. Does see play in Reversal Quiz in GOAT format, however. Yeah, I think it's safe to put it in the gimmick tier. Pot of Generosity is the worst 100%. Ooh, is Pot of Generosity worse than Gift Card and Toon World? Probably. Gift Card is way better than Toon World. That's huge burn with Samuchi. Oh yeah, 3,000 points of burn damage, but in a vacuum, Toon World's probably worse. Plus, but wait, with spell economics, what do you even do with Toon World? If you don't have to pay life points for your spell cards, can you even activate Toon World? Is Toon World broken? Next up, Banisher of Light. Light attribute, level 3, fairy, effect. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. 100 attack, 2,000 defense. Completely meta-relevant. This card, side deck mostly. Banisher of the Radiance is much better, but still you'd see sometimes using both cards. You could actually get this one out with Shining Angel. We haven't gotten to it yet, but it's relevant. Pretty good card. I agree, real good effect. Next up, Giant Rat. Earth attribute, level 4, Beast effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Earth monster with 1,500 or less attack from your deck in attack position. 1,400 attack, 1,450 defense. I mean, Rat Toolbox is a whole deck, just because you have a lot of different Earth attribute monsters that you can search for. Spoiler, I actually think that most of the elemental searchers, or most of the elemental floaters, have seen at least some degree of meta success. I'm not sure about Mother Grizzly, though. But I know the other 5 have. Next up, Senju of the Thousand Hands. Light attribute, level 4, fairy effect. When this card is normal or flip summoned, you can add 1 ritual monster from your deck to your hand. 1,400 attack, 1,000 defense. This card's good. I mean, you use it in ritual decks. I think Manju of the 10,000 Hands is just better than Senju of the 1,000 Hands. I think the card has the exact same stats, but is just better. But that's okay. I do love the artwork on Giant Rat too, because it's got the little skull in its hand, and it really shows you the scale of the rat. It's big. It's giant. Next up, UFO Turtle. Fire attribute, level 4, machine effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one fire monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck in defense position. 1400 attack, 1200 defense. I don't know why the stat lineups are different on these cards. I guess they're not strict, type changing reprints or attribute changing reprints. Senju is pretty much 3 more copies of Manju in Necros. Oh yeah. Sometimes there's definitely times where you prefer to get the monster. Senju's great. I'm not going to argue that. Next up, Flash Assailant. Dark attribute, level 4, Fiend effect. Decrease the attack and defense of this card by 400 points for each card in your hand. 2000 attack, 2000 defense. It's sort of like reverse Muka Muka. So, assuming that you have no cards in hand, which happens some of the time, but you're probably not in a good position, well, maybe you just set some back row, but the ceiling for this card is better than Mechanical Chaser, but the floor for this card is a 0/0 level 4. I don't know where to put it in fill or outclassed, but I think that's fair for it. Next up, Karate Man. Earth attribute, level 3, Warrior effect. You can double the original attack of this card once per turn. If you use this effect, destroy this card during the end phase. 1000 attack, 1000 defense. I guess since this card doubles its original attack, it interacts with Megamorph and maybe interacts with Unstable Mutation? Is that useful? I mean, this is a card that you can use in your rat toolbox. It gets under Gravity Bind. It's not a bad card. It's definitely an option. I think it's not bad on release. It is some interesting battle-based removal. Probably not the best one at the time, but it is useful, at least until we get Injection Fairy Lily. Then the card's pretty irrelevant. Next up, Dark Zebra. Earth attribute, level 4, Beast effect. If this is the only monster card in your control during your standby phase, it is changed to defense position. You cannot change the battle position of this card during the same turn. Ooh, even with a card effect you can't. 1800 attack, 400 defense. I think filler. We have Mechanical Chaser. It's worse than Mechanical Chaser. I guess it's not even filler, it just goes in bad. Kind of funny to think so many level 4s existed that had crazy downsides for high attack, and yet nowadays every normal summon probably has bad stats in comparison. Yeah, I actually think that some of these bad statted cards, if they were introduced earlier, like Dark Zebra and La Jin, or Dark Zebra even before La Jin, it wouldn't be so bad, but the power progression in the TCG is just crazy. Next up, Giant Germ. Dark attribute, level 2, Fiend effect monster. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Then, you can special summon any number of Giant Germs from your deck in attack position. 1000 attack, 100 defense. This card was meta, which is a little bit interesting to see. This card's just real good swarming for the time. I do think that there is a weakness in the design space, and it's a lot of these battle floaters would be so much better if they instead said, if this card is destroyed by your opponent's card, then it'd be a lot better than they are right now, but that's probably too much to ask. I wouldn't mind seeing all the battle floaters get a retrain, like giant rat or even bigger rat or something. I don't know. Maybe in the future it'd be cool. Next up, Nimble Momonga. Earth attribute, level 2, beast effect monster. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, gain 1000 life points. Then, you can special summon any number of Nimble Momongas from your deck in face down defense position. 1000 attack, 100 defense. This card also saw meta play. This card is right next to Giant Germ. Minuscule rat. Oh, it should be a smaller rat. Stalling out with this card, gaining life points, a little bit of swarming. And so Yusei actually used this in the anime, but if you bring it out with Junk Synchron, then of course you can make Junk Warrior. Woo, Junk Warrior. But you can also make Frozen Fitzgerald because it's a beast monster and Junk Synchron's a tuner, a dark tuner. But that sort of breaks the lore. Next up, Spear Cretin. Dark attribute, level 2, Fiend effect monster. Flip. When this card is sent to the graveyard after being flipped, each player special summons one monster from their graveyard in face-up attack position or face-down defense position. 500, 500. I don't even know. This card is bad. You're not gonna benefit from it so much. It's symmetric. It gives your opponent a lot of choice. It's really hard to use. That's a pretty awkward condition. So one of the things that Spear Cretin actually had a tiny bit of utility is that you could loop it with 2 copies of Spear Cretin. But I agree, Spear Cretin is used in some infinite loops, but it is not good. I wish the battle searchers were level 4. Then you might be able to use it as ritual fuel. That's an interesting point. I sort of like them as level 2. I like Junk Synchron. I guess Spear Cretin goes in Gimmick then. I don't like the card. I think it's dumb. I agree. Pretty good spot for the Gimmick tier. That's sort of why it's there. It's untiered, so sometimes the cards are real good that go in Gimmick, sometimes they're real bad. Next up, Shining Angel. Light attribute, level 4, fairy effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one light monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck in face-up attack position. This card's great. 1400 attack, 800 defense. I think a really important part of the battle floaters is that they can all tutor for themselves. Like, they wouldn't be nearly as good without it. Next up, Boar Soldier. Another one of those level 4s with severe downside. Earth attribute, level 4. Beast Warrior effect. Oh, can you get this with Tenki? Is that useful? No. If this card is normal summoned, destroy this card. Yikes. If your opponent controls one or more monsters, decrease the attack of this card by 1000 points. 2000 attack, 500 defense. This card is so bad. Why are you so bad? So you have to set this monster with 500 defense and then wait a turn. And then if your opponent has a monster, you summon a level 4 with 1000 attack? That's like aggressively bad. Ooh. The battle tutors would technically all be soft garnets since you only want one to be in hand. Sort of like the gadgets, where you don't want to draw multiple gadgets. That's something to think about. Soft garnets. I like that term. Next up, Mother Grizzly. Water attribute, level 4, Beast Warrior effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one water monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck in face-up attack position. 1400 attack, 1000 defense. It could be Ritual 6. I really don't know if Mother Grizzly ever saw any competitive success. I haven't seen it in a deck list yet, but I wouldn't put it past people. All the other ones have. Next up, Flying Kamakiri number 1. Wind attribute, level 4, insect, effect monster. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one wind monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck in face-up attack position. 1400 attack, 900 defense. This one brought out Sasuke Samurai number 4 in a meta deck, actually. But that's the only use I've seen for it so far. But it's not a bad card. If it's at one copy in a meta deck at one point, it gets into the meta at one point. The bar is not so high. Next up, Ceremonial Bell. Light attribute, level 3, spellcaster, effect. As long as this card remains face up on the field, both players must show their respective hands. 0 attack, 1850 defense. That's not a bad number for defense points. I mean, that's like Wall of Illusion defense points. So, what if you normal summon this card and then your opponent, so you can see your opponent's hand and you get the information? I don't think the card is usually worth the normal summon, but if your deck doesn't need the normal summon, or if you're like mid-combo, or you get an extra normal summon from one of your monsters, it has 0 attack. I don't know if you can bring it out directly from the deck in a very usable way, but I can see people thinking about this card at least a little bit, because information really strong, but it's not information plus disruption like confiscation or exchange. So I don't know how important just a little bit of information is. Oh, one other note, completely unrelated to the performance of the card. When I was a kid, my friend had this card, and he had like holographic stickers that you could put on top of the artwork, and it would make any card a foil card. And I remember Ceremonial Bell was one of the ones that he made all shiny. It was really interesting. I don't know if that makes it illegal in tournaments, but it looked cool. Next up, Sonic Bird. Wind attribute, level 4, Winged Beast, effect. When this card is normal or flip summoned, you can add one ritual spell from your deck to your hand, 1400 attack, 1000 defense. This card's meta, or at least this card has had some degree of meta success. Put it right next to Senju, because it's pretty much the same card. If you assume Confiscation and Delinquent Duo are also being played, then hand info is useless. Oh yeah, at the time I completely agree you don't play that card, but like contemporary play, there's better options. There is always better options. Couldn't Shining Angels summon the bell? It could, but not really on the first turn. Sonic Bird isn't as good as Senju. Being a fairy makes Senju way more searchable. I agree with that. Sonic Bird's not as good, but it did see meta success. It was in those same Demise OTK decks alongside Senju. So, it's reached the bar. So Mystic Tomato, like the OCG artwork is just a little weird. Like Mystic Pumpkin, maybe? I don't know. To me, it looks weird. Anyway, Dark Attribute, level 4, Plant, effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one dark monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck in face-up attack position. 1400 attack, 1100 defense. This card's really good. I mean, this is like the premium toolbox next to Rat card. It was really strong. Plus, you could search for like Sangan and Witch. Never understood why the TCG got a crazy tomato instead of the superior pumpkin. I think the OCG tomato is inspired by a beef tomato, like the variety called beefsteak. I know what a beefsteak is, and I guess this one's closer to like an heirloom, or I don't know. Why is it carved like a pumpkin though? And I guess you could lone fire into Mystic Tomato? I don't know. Dark toolboxes are pretty cool though. Next up, Kotodama. Earth attribute, level 3, fairy effect. If there are no face-up monsters with the same name on the field... if there are face-up monsters with the same name on the field, destroy those monsters. If a monster is summoned or flipped face-up that has the same name as a monster that is already face-up on the field, the new face-up monster is destroyed. If they are summoned or flipped face-up at the same time, they are all destroyed. 0 attack, 1600 defense. Like, counterplay to harpies, because like the harpies all have the same name. I don't see this card ever being useful, but I did think that it's an interesting card because that's basically the legend rule for Magic the Gathering. It's cool design, but it's ahead of her time. The effect is sorta ahead of their time. I'm trying to think, like monsters that special summon more copies of themselves, like the Giant Germ or Evil Thorn or Nimble Momonga, are sorta okay. Yeah, exactly. Does it restrict Giant Germ and Momonga from... sorta. I guess you just special summon them one at a time then. Okay, if your opponent has 2 of the blue eyes on the field, why didn't they just fusion summon the blue eyes in their hand for the blue eyes ultimate dragon? Cyber Dragon also share a name on the field. Oh, I guess you could use it against Cyber Dragons. It's a really cool effect. I like the card a lot. On like a continuous spell, it'd be sorta okay, but not on a monster you gotta summon. Especially a 0 attack monster. Or I guess 0 attack earth monster, you could tutor it easier. I don't know. Back to field spells. Full attribute cycle, starting with Gaia Power. All earth monsters gain 500 attack and lose 400 defense. I have no idea why all these early stat boosts have a drawback on them. Like, I guess 500 attack sounds like a lot, but like Steel Shell had a drawback, and I don't understand. Next up, Umi Iruka. So, the Japanese name is a little bit funny. This is referring to the dolphin. So it's like ocean dolphin on the field spell. Anyway, it has the effect. Increase the attack of all water monsters by 500 points and decrease their defense by 400 points. Put it next to Gaia Power. Next up, Molten Destruction. A field spell. All fire monsters gain 500 attack and lose 400 defense. I'm not a fan of these symmetric cycle cards. They're not very interesting design. Next up, Rising Air Current. Field spell. All wind monsters gain 500 attack and lose 400 defense. At least their effects are short. Ooh, Gaia Power actually had a top in 2005. Okay. That's fair. Dunno, man. The wind one is just a bird. Oh, I completely agree. The wind one's just a bird, and like the water one's just a dolphin, and the earth one's just a tree, and not the most inspired artwork. Except maybe Luminaspark. Luminaspark actually looks really good. Field spell. All light monsters gain 500 attack and lose 400 defense. Put them in the bad category. Oh yeah, artwork is great. I really like this artwork. I love Light of Intervention. These are great ones. I wish... we gotta do the art tier list pretty soon. Next up, Mystic Plasma Zone. Increase the attack of all dark monsters by 500 points, and decrease their defense by 400 points. Yep. It's bad. But I will definitely admit, great artwork. Yumi Uruka uses Japanese in the English card, but English in the Japanese card. Yeah, it's like Kage to Kage. Dunno, man. The fire one is just a volcano. At least you can't say that the light and the dark ones are just a brilliant light and a monster. I guess maybe. A volcano is at least a proper field. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like the wind one, you have no ground to stand on. Rising air current, no ground to stand on. But we're in the home stretch. Next up, Messenger of Peace. Continue a spell card. Monsters with 1500 or more attack cannot declare an attack. Once per turn, during your standby phase, pay 100 life points or destroy this card. I have no idea why the maintenance cost is so low on this. Oop, Mystic Plasma also saw a top in 2004. Okay, that's fair. The field spells that boost attack, they're not bad. There's a reason why they're in like every structure deck. They're simple, they're easy to use, but they're really boring. Messenger of Peace, yeah, it enables burn decks and Watts, because all your Watts can usually get under Messenger of Peace. This card's actually pretty high meta, because Chainburn loves it, deck out decks love it, anything that needs to stall loves it. Any floodgate with or destroy this card is terrible card design. Yeah, that is another problem, that you could just turn this card off whenever you want to. Imperial Order used to be like that, but I think the effect-changing errata has fixed that. Last one in the set, another secret rare, Serpent Knight Dragon. Dark attribute, level 7, dragon, normal monster. A dragon created from the soul of a wicked knight. Makes sense considering its name. 2350 attack, 2400 defense. I mean, normal monster, maybe in the bad normal monster category. It's not great. It's a little bit weird that like Serpent Knight Dragon is in the same set as Hozan Ryu, where it's just worse. Oh, I agree. Imperial Order is still really good, but it was even better in the past. But yeah, that's the set. Overall, look, it looks a little weird. You got a whole bunch of design mistakes. Some serious, some not so serious. Got one meta card that you could play today. Whole bunch of cards that used to be meta. A few that were okay on release. A few filler cards. Some bad, some very bad. Some normal, some ritual. And a few cards that might be gimmick potential. So, pretty crazy set. Serpent Knight Dragon had a skill and speed duel format that makes it a tier 1 deck. Yeah, okay. TCG, though. Serpent Knight Dragon, not great. Doesn't even look like that bad of a distribution of cards. Yeah. I agree, I like it. I don't know what I prefer, but one of the things I was considering with this series is, what if we did Yu-Gi-Oh! Without the filler, where we look at just the interesting cards that were released at each set, but I don't know if that's necessary when we do this. It's a lot of fun, though. I think it's more nostalgic to hit on the bad cards and the good cards, and to think about and daydream a little bit. But that's the end of what I have prepared for tonight. We're almost at 3 hours right now. So I think I'm about to sign off. What was the main artwork for the set? Relinquished was the cover card for the set. I think sets like these end up making one nostalgic because there's so much variance in them. I agree. One of the things I'm a little scared for in the future is just keeping track of all the cards that are released within each archetype, and I have no idea how I'm going to do that. Like, every time I show a card, maybe bring the adjacent archetype cards and as an additional overlay, but that might be confusing. Everything's so self-contained right now, and it doesn't rely so much on interactions, and every once in a while there's just one super weird card like Dark Witch or Killer Needle that I forget or I was unaware of having some application, but for the most part, everything's self-contained and pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, pretty good list. I'm gonna be signing off for the night. I had a good stream. Hopefully get to do this again next week. What is the next set we're actually going to be covering, though? The next set, Eternal Duelist Soul promotional art, McDonald's promo cards, Pharaoh's Servant, the Shonen Jump magazine promo, Tournament Pack 2. I might have to split that into 2 streams. But till then, I'm gonna sign off for the night. Oh, a couple more. It really was random distribution of cards in the early OCG and TCG. As you have busted cards, you have bad cards, and they're all mixed together. I really wish they weren't distributed randomly, because it feels really bad if you go back and open an old set because you just get garbage, and all the good cards are at higher rarity. But we're not considering that. Self-contained also sets itself up for really well for kids buying a few random packs in a store to build a deck with. I agree. I did some random pulls, and like a third of the cards that I pulled I can't even use, even with a pretty big card library. And it's just not fun. But that's okay. I'm saying goodnight now. Good night.